further out. Well, who designed that guy? Or who designed the guy before that? I mean, eventually you got to get to a first cause. And the Ancient Aliens panel, I think it was even Giorgio, in fact, I think may have said this, but Eric von Daniken was there too, and he and talked about this, is that they recognize that you eventually have to push this narrative back far enough that you get to a first cause, a creator God. And von Daniken, you know, I can't know his heart. You know, all I could do is say this is what he said and my impression of what he said. He grew up Catholic, went to a Jesuit school, so he's Jesuit trained. And he talks about his experience. He says, I still very much believe in God, you know, the God of the Bible. I pray to him every day. And he said, I will turn over in my grave if anybody ever tries to turn this Ancient Aliens thing into a religion that replaces, you know, God. You know, like, so on the one hand, he says that he believes in the God of the Bible. Of course, that's, I always, when I hear that, I'm like, okay, which God? There's lots of gods in the Bible. Which one? The one true God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or the ones he says don't have any other ones before me? Right. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that he's talking about the one true God when he says God. Okay, so he's coming at that from a Catholic background. Well, isn't it interesting that the Catholics seem to be behind all this stuff? You know, they're the ones that started taking us off of the page of the way, you know, making it illegal to do Passover, and you got to do Easter instead, or replacing Sabbath and, you know, changing it to Sunday. And, you know, so they're hugely responsible for Christianity way off the beaten path. Okay. And then flash forward, you know, later, and you've got Copernicus, Galileo, both Catholics. Interesting. Was it George Lament or something like that? I forget the guy's name, but the guy who coined the phrase "the Big Bang," who came up with the Big Bang, Jesuit, Catholic. Mm-hmm. The Vatican has the largest numbers of observatories in the world. One of the most well-known one is the Lucifer telescope. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, how interesting, right? So von Daniken is trained in this environment with the Copernican system and all that, and he starts looking at scriptures. And I went to one of the lectures that he did, and what he does to the book of Ezekiel, like, would just make your head spin. To take, you know, he went through, like, his entire presentation was taking the book of Ezekiel, but basically he's like, if you replace the, you know, the Merkaba, the chariots of the gods, you know, what scripture talks about wheel within a wheel and all that, and realize this is talking about UFO. And when it's talking about angels, it really means aliens. And whenever it says heaven, it's talking about space. Well, then you get a whole different story. I'm like, well, yeah, of course you get a whole different story. If you change everything about the story, you're going to get a different story. Yeah. But I mean, he did. He changes everything about the story. And I think that he is, frankly, I think he's a victim. I think that he was somebody that maybe started off with real good intentions. His book went crazy popular. And he's even said this before. He goes, I never made any statements. He said, if you go look, my book is full of questions. And in fact, if you go and analyze the TV series Ancient Aliens, they're very crafty about how they do the show. They don't come out and say, this is it. They say, could it be that? Mm-hmm. And if this, then maybe. What if? They will always phrase it that way. Now, of course, it's being put forward as, this is what we believe, and it's on the History Channel. Right. But from a legal framework, they've got enough that they could say, hey, look, what we were doing is asking questions. You know, you chose to believe it. That's on you. Mm-hmm. Well, that's convenient.